Our planet is rich in resources and natural beauty. That's especially true here in Africa. But how can we use those resources without harming our planet and our future? Today we're focusing on green living and its many benefits. I am Chris Elems in Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome to Eco Africa. Here's what's coming up. From garbage to gold, how waste eggshells have become a money maker in Uganda. Eco-friendly homes. What can we learn from an affordable housing project in Switzerland? And clean solar power in Ghana. That's getting a boost from water. But first, have you bought any new clothes this year? You may not know this, but the fashion industry is the second most polluting sector worldwide. Only the oil industry is worse. Now, fast fashion produces 10% of the carbon emissions that drive global warming, plus huge amounts of waste clothing get dumped in Africa. But what if things were different? Our first eco-hero today believes we can change, and she's getting the message out.
The Dandora dump site on the outskirts of Nairobi covers 30 acres and is one of the largest in the world. Janet Chemite often comes here to document the mountains of waste with her cell phone.
Hi everyone, my name is Chemite Janet. I'm a waste and slow fashion educator, and today we are here in Dandora dump site to see the type of waste that ends up here, and I'm especially interested in seeing the textile waste that ends up in the dump site.
With such reels, the environmental activist wants to raise awareness of the problems caused by the fast fashion industry, quickly produced cheap clothes that are thrown away just as quickly, causing ever-growing mountains of waste in many countries.
When people see my videos, like most of them are usually like very shocked, especially the ones in Kenya. When you think about Dandora, for example, people know that there's a dump site there, but they don't know how it looks like. So when they see all these things that happen, they're so curious, and most of them respond that they want to make changes in their lives.
Janet Chemite is trying to convince people to change their behavior and live more sustainably, and huge numbers of people get her message via her social media accounts. Her most successful video to date has been seen more than 10 million times.
For me, the most important thing is that the comments and the engagements that I got were of people like just appreciating that they were learning something that they didn't really know about their clothes and the fashion industry, which is something that I always aim for when I'm sharing these videos, because I want people to learn and to see the reality of the fashion industry on the ground.
It's been calculated that the fashion industry produces up to 10% of the emissions that cause climate change. The massive oversupply in developed economies means huge amounts of textiles are dumped as second-hand goods in countries such as Kenya. It's an unsustainable situation that has scientists worried.
If we have 185,000 tons coming in per year, then definitely we'll be having 185,000 tons to be thrown away, either next year or 5 years down the line. Because these are only second-hand clothes. We also have new clothes coming in. So we have a minimum of 200,000 tons of textile waste that we have to deal with in Kenya per year.
One solution Janet Chemite offers in her videos is to treat clothes with more respect. She regularly searches for interesting pieces at the Gikomba second-hand market and shows her followers how to make them look chic again with little effort.
I buy secondhand because it kind of helps me reduce the urgency of like fast fashion brands saying that they need to produce more because there's a demand from consumers. And then the other way that someone can embrace slow fashion is by having your clothes made.
In addition to her digital activities, the 28-year-old also gives workshops and lectures, like here at the Fair Fashion Festival in Nairobi. At the event, local designers and artists showcase their collections made from recycled and sustainable materials. There's also a kind of swap shop where visitors can swap secondhand clothes.
You don't have to buy new clothes to be stylish or to refresh your wardrobe. People have so many clothes already that they have bought and they're not wearing it. So you come to events like this where you bring a number of clothes and then you exchange it with someone else. And that helps us embrace slow fashion in a way.
Embracing slow fashion as a counter-concept to fast fashion not only ensures less waste, it also saves money. In Jeanette Chemite's experience, once people have learned about it and understand, they find it useful. That's why it's so important to keep promoting it, she says.
When I see especially like young people encouraging each other to attend more sustainable fashion events, going to clothing swaps, buying secondhand, making their own clothes, it makes me so happy because it means that the work that we're doing in this space is reaching more people and that the fashion industry is going to change for sure.
And it can even be fun. Instead of buying a new piece of clothing, she crochets it herself. And while she's doing it, she's probably already working on an idea for her next reel.
What a great job she's doing. An example to us all. Our next story takes us to Tunisia to meet another dedicated environmental activist. The country has been stricken by drought in recent years, and many reservoirs have been bled dry. It's a problem for people and for wildlife. Here is this week's Doing Your Bits.
This is what's left of a reservoir in Menzil Tamim in northern Tunisia. The lake was once home to hundreds of turtles. Now, for the first time since 1960, it's completely dry. Environmental activist Imad Qassem is assessing the damage. In this small remaining pond, he found some 200 turtles whose lives are in great danger. If we don't relocate them, they'll only live for a few days or weeks. They're amphibious turtles, not land turtles. Without human intervention or heavy rains to fill the dam, they might survive for a day or even a month, but eventually they'll die. But Imad Qassem is a man on a mission. He wants to save the remaining turtle population. And today he's joined forces with several local environmentalists, scouts and officials to relocate the turtles. The reptiles play a crucial role in local ecosystems. Freshwater turtles are an essential link in the food chain and help to regulate invertebrate and algae populations. Their absence can upset this balance, with harmful consequences for the ecosystem as a whole. And this will be their new home, the Lebna Reservoir a few kilometres away. Its water levels are also lower than they used to be, but there's still enough to make it a suitable habitat for the endangered turtles. I want people to understand where we're heading. We're heading for drought and water scarcity. If that day comes for animals, then humans will be affected too, and maybe face even bigger consequences. Imad and his helpers are doing their bit to keep their environment livable for the turtles and themselves.
We head to Ghana now and another reservoir, but this one's been used for a different purpose. Like many countries around the world, Ghana wants to increase its share of renewable energies. Solar power is a source of clean, low-cost electricity. But how about a solar plant that floats on water? It's an innovation with multiple benefits.
It covers the size of 5 football pitches and floats on the Bui Reservoir on the Black Volta River in western Ghana. This swimming solar power farm is the first of its kind in West Africa.
Panels are resting on the floaters, and we are using same floaters as the walkway, as you can see that I'm standing on one. For maintenance purposes, we are able to come and have a daily inspection, as you can see my team doing. So each day we do an inspection on the PV models and the cables that we have here.
Floating solar panels have some advantages over those on land. They take up less space and can be positioned closer together. The swimming panels generate energy from light above and below.
The sun is reflecting up here, and we are having another reflection below the PV models because we call something the albedo index. The reflective index of the river is very high, and so we are able to also generate from below.
The floating solar power plant currently generates 5 megawatts at peak output. According to the energy company, this is enough to power the closest town, Wenchi, with a population of around 40,000. Combined with the electricity from Bui's hydroelectric plant and the panels on the land, hundreds of thousands of homes can be supplied with clean energy. In the control room of the floating power station, engineers check that everything is running smoothly. Outside, the inspection is still ongoing. The power plant has given many women the opportunity to work in a field that used to be male-dominated.
The authority has strategic policies that allows you to work and feel okay. In terms of no one will feel neglected, bullied. Sexual harassment is not tolerated here because there are a lot of strict and strategic policies that guide us here.
The Bui hydropower plant was finished in 2013 but has not been without controversy. Its dam flooded around a fifth of the bordering national park and fertile farmland. More than 1,000 people from 8 communities, including the village of Bato Akanyakrom, were resettled. This posed a challenge to their livelihoods, but some were compensated. They asked us what trade we want to learn, and each one made their choice. I chose tailor. They bought me the machine and paid for training. Now I am close to graduation and will soon be making my own money. Others living downstream from the dam complain that conditions have worsened since it was built. When the dam wasn't there, fishing was good. But now they control the water, and that affects those of us who fish on the periphery. We used to get good catches, now we are struggling. Engineer Maximilian Kwateng, however, says that fingerling populations below the solar panels appear to be thriving. The shade from the panels is also believed to help prevent evaporation. Some experts believe that the floating plant could negatively affect aquatic life in the river.
You are covering the water surface with the PV system, reducing the penetration of light into the water. So it is possible that there are, aquatic life in there that needs some appreciable amount of sunshine that will be affected. And there are also plants that will not get sufficient sunlight, for their growth, because they will need that for the photosynthesis, and therefore there are fish that also depend on those plants.
There is no doubt that the dam has had an impact, both positive and negative, on the region. But the combination of hydro and solar power is helping Ghana become more energy independent and shift away from fossil fuels. Now, it generates only 1% of its electricity from renewables. It's aiming for 10% by 2030.
Powering homes with clean energy is one thing, but building them often takes a huge toll on our planet too, because it emits a vast amount of greenhouse gases, and these contribute to global warming. So we really need to find ways of reducing the carbon footprint of the construction sector. We crossed to Switzerland in Europe now, where we found a great example of how it can be done and why it also makes financial sense.
The Hobelwerk construction project in Switzerland aims to show how climate-neutral living is possible. It's very sustainable, and it's also good for the children to grow up like this. Any emissions generated in building and running the homes are offset by cutting emissions elsewhere in the project. The design also fosters social interaction.
Being connected to the community like this is very good for me as an artist.
The architecture experiments with innovations.
The staircase is fairly narrow, but also relatively spacious. It connects all the spaces here, so the whole building comes together.
And there seems to be space for everyone. In the Swiss city of Winterthur, the cooperative currently has 5 complexes, housing just over 400 residents altogether. Switzerland aims to be CO2 neutral by 2050, so these buildings are fit for the future.
Solar panels on the rooftops generate power that we feed back into the buildings. We're using recycled construction elements, which greatly reduces the CO2 footprint. And we're including large green spaces to help reduce much of the excess heat.
Architect Pascal Flammer has reused old construction material wherever possible. These windows were all taken from demolished buildings. And the cladding came from an old factory hall. These balcony railings used to be bed frames in a prison. Recycling reduces waste and cuts the carbon emissions that would have been produced in making new ones, but it's challenging.
If you don't even know what materials you're going to build with in the future, you can't plan very exactly. So you don't really have your materials together until construction is just about to start. And that leads to a certain imprecision. You can really see that here, for example, by these frontal facades that bring together a collection of different materials, a patchwork that you kind of have to piece together.
The Hobelwerk encourages a sense of community. Studio apartments like these are open to the courtyard. In the little 2-room apartments, residents can combine living and working in one space, and passers-by can knock at any time.
I like having the working and the living area together in the apartment. Also that I'm included in the community, and that people are always dropping by and looking around the studio.
Then there are cluster apartments, where friends or extended families can all have separate homes, but share generous communal spaces. The concept cuts down on living space per person and saves energy. I live here with my husband, 3 children and 2 foster children. Then my mother has a separate apartment, but in our cluster. It's really nice to have a spacious common living and dining area where we actually spend most of our time, but everyone has their private space too. It's not just a question of using less energy for heating in winter. With global temperatures rising, staying cool in the summer is also important. The Hobelwerk has created this green area where rainwater can collect and slowly evaporate, cooling the complex.
Right from the start, we called it the jungle, and it was meant to eventually be like a jungle. A combination of green, lush, tall trees and different plants that would all promote condensation and evaporation, and help reduce the heat in summer.
These different ideas are all combined in the Hobelwerk to make carbon-neutral living possible. The space-saving concept is ideal for cities. And what's more, it cuts costs.
Well, some great ideas there. Now, every day, billions of chicken eggs are eaten worldwide. I myself, I enjoy eating an egg roll. But that means a lot of eggshells heading to the trash. But the shells are useful for all sorts of applications. We come back to Africa now and the Ugandan capital, Kampala, where local business people are turning eggshells to profits.
Most people wouldn't give eggshells a second thought, and yet every year, millions of tons end up in landfills, where they release methane, a greenhouse gas that is 80 times more powerful than CO2 in the long run. Yet eggshells are a potentially valuable resource. Here, two examples from the Ugandan capital. Eggs are like in all of Uganda, a street food staple in Kampala. For example, the Rolex snack is made of omelette, vegetables, and flatbread. Its name is a play on rolled eggs. Usually the eggshells just get discarded, but Moses Sempija is now collecting them from many of Uganda's street food stalls.
By collecting waste eggshells from the food stall, we help keep the area clean, and it enables us to repurpose the eggshells into something valuable that sustains our livelihood.
Moses Sempija runs a small shop with natural products, such as oils or cough remedies. He dropped out of school, but later learned how to make his own living in a workshop for entrepreneurs. One of the ideas that came out of it, a nutritional supplement made from eggshells. First, they are cleaned and cooked to kill off germs, then processed into a calcium-rich powder. Sempija sells a 120-gram drum for the equivalent of €1.10. He sells about 23 of them a week. Diana Narubega found it painful when she got up or bent down. Doctors couldn't help. She says that her pain disappeared after taking eggshell powder for 4 months. At Kampala's Chambogo University, its benefits are being scientifically researched. Human nutrition student Walter Okulo says eggshells contain other vital minerals as well as calcium.
Magnesium, it aids in the absorption of calcium, because now when we say we are going to give calcium to people or a supplement of calcium to people, what if it is not being absorbed? So the magnesium content alone aids in that. Then again, when we look at the sodium content helps in maintaining and regulating of the body fluids.
The mineral calcium is important for strong bones and teeth. It also aids muscle function, the nervous system, and blood clotting. Urban diets are often not very calcium-rich. Yet an average chicken egg contains enough to meet the daily needs of an average adult, about 1 gram a day. It's an overlooked source of nutrition.
Many people don't have enough food, but even those who don't have enough food are not using it well. So I think if we created a way in which people understand the value of food and the value of each of the components of the food, then we shall have less wastage and more utilization of the foods.
But what else can eggshells do? Godfrey Sengonzi manufactures wall and floor tiles. By using eggshell powder, he can halve the amount of cement that he needs. Cement production is a major source of CO2 emissions. Sengonzi's products don't have to be fired, avoiding the use of wood or coal, fuels which also create smoke and particulate matter.
It means the reduction in the extraction of raw materials, reduction of carbon in the environment. Yeah, I believe embracing usage of wastes is the way to go to save the future.
Godfrey Sengonzi's eggshell tiles are in use in more than 65 buildings. His customers include the NGO Jungle International, which is close to Kampala. It runs a kind of talent campus, which helps young people bring their business ideas to fruition. Sengonzi's tiles have exceeded their expectations.
Usually you hear stories someone has fallen so much, has fallen in a bathroom someone has fallen because of a wet floor. There's a way these tiles make it a little bit balanced, that when you step on them, even when they are wet, they at least give you a balance and they are not so as slippery as those.
By creating greener building materials or food supplements from eggshells, these innovative entrepreneurs are helping care for the environment and transforming problems into solutions.
Amazing what you can do with just a humble eggshell. There's so much potential in nature. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the show. Do check out Eco Africa online for more inspiring stories or get in touch. And the address is eco@dw.com. I am Chris Lems in Lagos, Nigeria. See you next time.